isn't it? And the third is neither unpleasant nor pleasant. Adukkhama asukha vedana. These are the three fundamental Vedanas. And if we can be aware of these Vedanas from moment to moment, by training the mind through mindfulness, let us say, by using the contemplation of feeling as a technique of meditation, of developing or training the mind, developing the mind, then through feeling we can have a handle over the mind. If you are aware of the feelings, that this is a pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, or neutral feeling. Every moment, now you are, let us say you are eating. Very good. Every morsel that you eat, if you are aware of the feeling associated with that eating, whether you are taking pleasure in eating, whether you think it's a very nice food, nice, come on, gobble up more and more. So that feeling of, that pleasant feeling arising through the contact between the tongue and the food, and the mental awareness that you are, it's a pleasant taste. It's a pleasant taste. When these three factors, namely the tongue as a sense organ, and the food as producing a sensation of pleasure, and the you are conscious of the pleasant taste, when these three factors meet, that feeling arises. So the pleasant feeling, if you now concentrate on this pleasant feeling and ask further, well, I am eating, it's a very pleasant feeling, what happens then? You want to eat more, because it's a very pleasant feeling. Now you want it, you immediately want to eat more, you enjoy the food. The more you enjoy the food, more craving you are generating. Somebody asked the Buddha, well, what is the source of all suffering in the world? Bhagavan, please tell us. Buddha just used one word. He says, tanha pachaya dukkha. It is the craving for things, craving to enjoy things, or sensual desire, you see, craving for enjoying worldly things, all the pleasures of the world, that is at the source of all suffering, said the Master. And then there is one more source, he says, the craving to continue to exist, to be in the world, not to get out of the world, thinking that the world is such a pleasant, permanent and happy dimension of existence that you must stick on. This kind of craving to stick on, to survive, to be born again and again. Not thinking that if you want to be born again and again, you have to die again and again. And if you have to die again and again, between the you will be reborn again and again. So you are creating a cycle of being born again and again, therefore die again and again, therefore being reborn again. Why reborn? Because between birth and death you keep on doing all kinds of activities, karma, volitional, intentional activities. And if these activities are based upon greed, hatred and delusion, what will happen? So these greed, hatred and delusion motivated actions only lead you to a state of existence where greed prevails, hatred prevails, delusion prevails. the result is you suffer. Greed can only bring suffering. Now for instance, this eating analogy. You like the food, okay? You keep on gobbling. The result, you have a big tummy upset. You have a stomach trouble. You get a disease. And you keep on doing this every day, all the time. You have no control over the tongue. The result is you have a terrible disease which ends up into a chronic stomach trouble leading to an operation, some kind of an operation. All kinds of suffering, nothing but suffering. So the source of all suffering in the world is craving. And this craving is generated by feeling. Vedana pachaya tanha. Tanha pachaya upadana. Upadana pachaya bhavu. So the feeling of pleasure when you enjoy it, you want to have more and more, automatically means you get attached to what you crave. The craving to eat or enjoy that food simply means you are creating attachment. You cling on. The more you crave, the more you cling on to what you crave. Which means the more attached you become. That means what? You have to do the same thing again. You see, somebody is attracted by a cigarette, a boy or a girl. It's quite, you can see that everywhere in the Western countries. They you see, flaunt their cigarettes. And they don't care their elder. They keep on puffing. So now, this cigarette, you take one today. Tomorrow you have a desire to have one more fag, one more cigarette. Day after tomorrow, 2, 4, 10 and so on, it becomes a habit. You get habituated to cigarette, you become addicted to cigarette, and if you don't take a cigarette, you can't eat your food, you can't go to the bathroom and have a nice nothing. The whole life becomes, you become a prisoner in a prison house of addiction. That is how beings are caught in samsaric existence. To be born again and again, to die again and again, to be reborn again and again, because of all these activities that are based on feeling. So once you understand how you create your own destiny, how you create this samsara, this samsaric existence, this wheel of life, based upon dukkha, suffering of one kind. The man who is very rich, who has lot of money, he suffers because of the lot of money, because he has got too much money. The man who has no money at all, the poor fellow, he suffers because he has no money. So if you have money, there is trouble. If you don't have, there is trouble. There is trouble everywhere, and the trouble is dukkha. This is the nature of samsara. Once you understand this very deeply, that all this comes from your own mind. You are the creator of all this. There is no God who creates all this. There is no creator, none of some supernatural force or whatever you may call it. You yourself are the creator of yourself. You yourself are the creator of your suffering and creator of your happiness. The moment you understand that you are creating your destiny by your action, and that understanding can come only when you understand your feeling, then the whole course of samsara will change. Then you want to guard your mind. All the time be aware of what is happening inside you. And if you want to guard your mind, you have to guard your feelings. And to guard the feeling simply means you become aware of what kind of feeling is accompanying any particular action. Whatever you say, whatever you do, whatever you think, just become aware of what kind of feeling associated therewith. Once you train the mind in this manner, a time will come that you go deeper. You say not only these three basic feelings, but each feeling has a specific quality of its own. Either the feeling is generated, if it is pleasant in a worldly way, that it perpetuates the world, or it is pleasant in an otherworldly way, spiritual way, that it makes an end of samsaric existence. There is pleasure not only in worldly things, there is pleasure also in spiritual things. There is pleasure in grabbing and accumulating. There is also a pleasure in giving and sharing and getting out of the world. Spiritual life is the greatest pleasure that anybody can cultivate and develop. But people are so blinded by their delusions, they think only by the worldly ways that they can get their happiness. Yes, they can get happiness, there is no question about that. What kind of happiness? Anicca, dukkha, anatta. The happiness you have is momentary, impermanent, only to lead to dukkha, suffering. But if you cultivate spiritual vedana, sukha vedana, that doesn't lead you to samsaric existence. Instead of grabbing, you like to give. You enjoy giving. You enjoy being generous. You enjoy being helpful. You enjoy being, compassionate. Or serve others rather than serve yourself. Once you understand feeling, you understand all these things. So, in this sutta, Bhagavan said, well, if the mind remains unguarded, all the threefold activities become unguarded, unprotected, unsecure. And when a person whose activities, all threefold activities are unguarded, his mind gets saturated with defilements, kilesa, lobha, dosa, moha and all that sort. Once it is saturated, then the mind begins to ooze. Asava, chittang asavati. It is so saturated that it oozes out. It trickles. And once it begins to oozes out, the mind, gradually all the activities get rotten. They rot. Putikang bhavati. Once they become rot, that means like corroded, like the example of the iron. Once it becomes to corrode every activity and the mind, it becomes self-destructive. You degenerate, deteriorate, your whole life itself deteriorates. It can deteriorate into a monster, into an asura, into an animal, into a bhuta pret, into an evil spirit. There are human beings. Lord Buddha said there are 5 kinds of human beings. A human being who is just like the denizen of hell, apaya, you see, who is a hellish being, very cruel, very horrible, terrible suffering. Or a human being who is like an animal, no control over himself, instinctive existence. The animal is motivated by instinct, not by rational thinking. So there are any amount of human beings who behave like animals. There are human beings who behave like bhuta, preta, like the evil spirits. Or like the Asura, the demoniacal being. I give an example. Hitler wanted to get rid of all the Jews in the world. He killed 6 million Jews cold-bloodedly in gas chambers in the Second World War. We all knew that. This is a devilish mind, and he created the mind by through his rotten activities. So, whether you want to perpetuate worldly samsaric existence and suffer life after life, in this life, let me say that you are a very happy man, you have lots of money, lot of authority and power, everything. Big family, big name. Next janma, next life, you don't know whether you are going to have that. You may end up as an animal, as a ghost. Or if you may end up as a very poor man born in a slum, because you never give. So you are born in a slum deprived. When you don't give, you are depriving people. When you are greedy, you have so much of things to give, but you deprive people by not giving. So you are born deprived, a little poor boy in a slum. These are possibilities which are very real. If you want to avoid such thing, the simple thing to do is to listen to Bhagavan Buddha. Bhagavan Buddha was a son of a great king. He could have become a Chakravarti Maharaja. He gave up all that. Why? In search of ultimate truth. How to get out of this dukkha which creates a cycle of birth and death and rebirth. Ultimately it's that. Old age, disease, death. This is the nature of life. Only to be reborn again and go through the same process. So if you are a sensible person, the only thing to do is really be serious about it and follow the Buddha seriously, my dear. That means practice meditation. There are hundreds of different ways of doing. One simple way is Vedananupasana. Just keep a watch over your feelings all the time. Keep the Panchashila minimum, the minimum ethical conduct that you need to do. If you want to be successful in Vedananupasana, there is no other way but to maintain the Panchashila. If you don't follow the Panchashila, forget about meditation. Forget about any gap, spiritual attainment. Now with this I conclude. May the blessings of Bhagavan Buddha surround your lives with wisdom and well-being. May you all be enabled to practice Shila and meditation. May you all be happy.